Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care anyway, guys? It is absolutely freezing out there. It is a nuclear winter in Glasgow. At latest reporting, at point of recording, we find it at -16. But all the chat coming into this game was about the synergy between the crowd and the pitch, and Brendan Rodgers' style of football, as well as some of the transfer stuff that's kind of the mortar in between the bricks of everything that's been going on over the last week or so. But we got what we wanted in this match. Over the last couple of games, Celtic definitely have been a little bit more one-dimensional despite all of the possession and the goals that we've scored, the points that we've got. Of course, the quality of the team has undoubtedly been shining through. But in this game today, guys, I said this in my build-up in my predicted 11, which I'm going to say we got 10 out of 11. I'm going to count that Kühn was a correct pick for the starting 11 despite him coming out injured in the warm-up and being replaced by Yang. So technically 9 out of 11, but I'm calling it a 10. That we wanted to see more dynamic play from the midfield. We wanted to see Celtic actually open teams up and ultimately just look a lot more dangerous with the majority of the possession that we have. And in this game, guys, something that I said in the build-up would have been a secondary headline. For me, is probably one of the primary headlines coming out of this match, and it was, again, Hatate starting on the bench. But it's not because he started on the bench necessarily, it's what we've seen in his absence. In the video today, I'm going to be breaking down everything we've seen from Celtic versus Dundee United, the sort of internal dynamics we've got maybe changing in a little bit of the style of play, as well as really ultimately what we got from Dundee United, the winners and losers, player ratings, and all that good stuff, of course. At any point in the video today, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We are pushing for 18,888 subscribers, and we cannot do that without your support. So if you do enjoy the content here, please do subscribe for more. It does make a huge difference. Some of you guys made some really good calls in the comment section on the last video. I was just trying to think of what one piqued my attention the most in the aftermath, but there was so many good ones. I want to see in the comment section on this one, again, any hot takes, thoughts and feelings on the performances that we got from Celtic versus Dundee United. Because after this video, it is all eyes on Ross County away, as well as the January transfer window is rumbling on, and there's actually some really interesting stories maybe rumbling around in the background. So stay tuned for more content like that, of course, as well. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. So this is the Celtic team that I'd predicted to start the match. Now, the obvious omission, the obvious change that we had in this one was no Hatate from the start, and it was Luke McCowan that came into the fray. Now, I thought this was quite surprising on a few different levels. Number one, Hatate starting 2 games in a row off the bench, which, you know, is fine. It happens to every player basically except for McGregor, but you'd have probably just about put Dyson and Hatate into that column, as well as maybe even Kyogo, who again didn't start this game for the second in a row. And like I mentioned, just to make sure we've got the right team on screen, Yang comes in for Kühn, who pulled out in the warm-up. But part of the, you know, building of the team in the last video when we were trying to do the predicted 11, we were talking about the position that Engels has been thriving in and he's been doing the best in, and that has been the left side of midfield, because when he's been on this side of the pitch, it's just felt like he's had more space to roam. He covers ground pretty quickly as well when he's like tasked or energized to be that guy that connects the defence to the attack. And, you know, in his good matches we've seen prior to this game, this is the area of the pitch he's been most dominant in. And by bringing Luke McCowan back in again to partner him, one thing that's been coming really clear now in terms of this could, you know, this for me, I did say coming into the Dundee United game, I think this is going to be a big precursor for the young boys match in terms of, you know, what he thinks the team will be for that game before we start to rotate across the next 2 away matches before the Kilmarnock match. And a huge thing that gave us, you know, a really different dynamic in the team. We got, like, you know, I'll come to Taylor in due course, but we got a really good version of Taylor in this game. Maybe not quite as attacking mid-self, but certainly a creative midfielder from these kind of zones, certainly. And maybe that kind of helped a little bit as well. But with Engels, you know, whenever he's on the ball, particularly when he's starting on the ball in this kind of final third area, because he is right-footed, like we've mentioned in the last video, like these balls that he likes to play on his, on his right foot, it's just a lot more natural when you're on this side of the pitch to actually get towards the goal face with the distribution. And McCowan with his left foot is actually just a lovely kind of mirror image that we've now got of this. And it feels like as well, because like if you do watch the game, one of the key differences isn't just the passing lanes that kind of open up by playing the left footer on the right and the right footer on the left, but also when they're at, both guys are really happy to travel with the ball, which is a great quality that we always want to encourage. And whenever McCowan is travelling with the ball from this type of zone here, because he's on his left foot, he's coming directly into these types of zones here. Likewise, if the ball is over on the left hand side, he again is going to come centrally into the pitch, and because he's on his left foot, this is just a lot more advantageous. Like, if the ball comes to him by chance, for him to be able to take the best first touch possible and then pass, shoot, whatever is going on. But if he starts with the ball and he's got it himself and he's going to dribble into this space here, again, if other people start to make runs off him or start to peel off into space, he's just much better equipped to, distribute the ball much better on his left foot. And when you've got Engels operating in the same way, both of them are having this kind of crisscross motion, not always necessarily running past each other in that kind of direct fashion here, but individually, whether it's McCowan on the ball or Engels, that was a dynamic in the play that just kept Dundee United, and I suspect it would do very well against a lot of teams that set up like this, although Dundee United, to their credit, they actually went for more of an Aberdeen approach in this game, where they tried to really play the game of two halves. Now, in the first half, I felt like they had nobody up front, and it was really reminiscent of the game at Tannadice recently, where Vickers and Trusty were here a lot of the time. We were really high up in the pitch for the majority. Alistair Johnston was more kind of centre-backy than he was right-back, and I think that was with Kühn not playing and Yang starting. Johnston was probably just on absolute shield mode, just do not go by Yang, just you stay here and give Yang space. Let him have his chance. Let him shoot his shot, as it were. And I think just with, I don't know if it might have been the development of Taylor, perhaps, in terms of him being more inverted from the start, but there was some nice moments in the match where McGregor burst forward through the middle with the ball, maybe played a little bit of a give and go. And it just felt like we had many more different passing lanes open, a lot more different just variation combinations of play here, and we really did pack them into their own half for the first half, where we're really dominating possession, and there was really no space for back passing, to be quite frank, because of just how deep Dundee United had went. And I think everyone was looking at that as maybe a subplot to the match in terms of crowd reaction, how many back passes would there be, but Dundee United did not want to go anywhere near the halfway line for large spells of the first half. And as I say, Vickers and Trusty were here for large spells of the game, and it just gave us much more bodies in the final third. And with the players that they'd selected, again, we've seen them all basically defending. But I think the difference in movement from McCowan and from Engels, because they were the primary playmakers for the most part, it did just upset the apple cart for them, because there's no way they anticipated that, because I certainly didn't, and any of you guys. When does he ever, Brendan Rodgers, I heard someone say, I forget what it was certainly fan media somewhere, but they mentioned that Rodgers averages 3 changes a game. So coming into this, there was only one, way below average. Obviously there's games that are above average, and that's how averages work, I get that. But McCowan and Engels starting definitely did surprise a lot of people. A lot of folk would have had Bernardo coming back in. I think Engels was kind of nailed, I suppose. But yeah, the third midfielder was somewhat unknown. And Adam Ida, for the most part in this game, I don't really remember him getting up to too much, to be quite frank. I don't think he did himself many favours. Because people say with Ida starting, it should give you the ability. And on it, by the way, Dyson actually played a pretty good left mid shift in this game. Adeboyega, who actually played much better as a right back than I thought he would have been. I thought he was much more of a centre back, this guy, but fair enough, he had a good shift. And Dyson got the better of him maybe a little bit more than we're used to sometimes with these big physical right backs that just get stuck man for man on Dyson, shoulder to shoulder. He doesn't always come out terribly well, but he actually got into some really good crossing positions, and some of his crosses were actually really not quite tasty, but well done, Dyson. Keep it up, great work on that effort. And it's not necessarily that Ida gives you if you play Ida, it means you can just cross the ball more often and get some headers. Yeah, that's true, of course, but what I really want to see from Ida is a bit more that bull in the china shop, that fox in a box that will just put his body before the defender, get to the ball, get the nick, get the touch, head, shoulder, knees and toes, whatever it is that you're doing to just actually score the goal, And I don't know. I don't know if it's Gallagher and Graham. Maybe they were just too tough for him or whatever. But I just didn't feel a bit of muscle, from Ida in this game. And yeah, I think he was fine. I don't remember anything overly negative. I'm recording this the day after the match, of course. But I really do sincerely hope that he gets the third match in a row that we were hoping he would get on the channel here and plays the next match against Ross County, because, McCowan's got a bit of a chance. And I really do think, by the way, that the development. So if you look at this team. The back four, Taylor playing a very good game in this kind of midfield, inverted left back kind of situation. Trusty and Vickers, cool, calm and collected. Honestly, Trusty played a really low key, very good game. Vickers was just a man mountain whenever required, as ever. And AJ, as I say, was just on kind of shield mode here behind Yang. But that base, which we're almost certainly going to be playing with in the most important matches, with this dynamic now of Engels being able to actually cover the pitch really quickly, McCowan the same, by the way. That's one of the things about McCowan is if he's in this area of the pitch here, maybe for a wee bit of meaningless possession, and then the ball does get switched over here, McCowan just arrives where he's supposed to really quickly. He's not like sprinting, but he just covers ground a bit faster. He just arrives. He's a bit more present. It feels like an open play. And I think even just, it's a really hard thing to actually quantify, but I think if you've watched the game, you'll probably get what I mean. But between that and then with Engels just feeling like his engine is on like full revs, like he's really like, give me the ball, give and go, passing range is incredible. And, you know, without being a player covered in flair and guile and all the rest of it, Engels was like really just effective. And I think him and McCowan could be the future of this midfield, sadly for Bernardo and for Hatate, because really like there wasn't too much more the midfield could have done. It really did tick all the boxes. And equally, because of the skill set of Engels and McCowan, on the couple of rare occasions we did get McGregor maybe travelling a little bit further forward, maybe being the point of attack for once in a while. Like either one of them can sit and cover for him, absolutely no sweat at all. Never mind if Taylor is kind of up for doing or tasked to do that at that particular moment anyway. So it just gives us a really nice balance in midfield, and like really Bernardo and Hatate have the same qualities to be able to deliver this as well. But it just feels that like similarly with Trusty and Vickers, like I'm a huge Scales fan, right? I think Scales should be playing all the time, right? Basically, right? But it's when you watch Trusty and Vickers, it just feels like the partnership, you know, and it's quite a hard thing to say or quite a hard thing to quantify. And I think with Engels and McCowan, let's see how the next couple of games go. But as things stand now, that's when I see us kind of building the midfield dynamic from now, because it just gets the most out of Engels. And Engels right now, if he can keep playing like that, is a very important player to get into full pace. I'm still unconvinced about, you know, maybe this dynamic with McGregor. I'd love McGregor in this position here. Like imagine if it was Engels on that dynamic we're talking about with McGregor on that dynamic as well, because McGregor's a lefty, you know, and then you had like Bernardo in here, maybe McCowan, like you probably don't want him here, you probably want McGregor there if it was those two on the pitch together, you know, but a more like shield, robust defensive mid for like Champions League and derbies and whatever is something I would still think about having on the shopping list, because I still think McGregor could do a brilliant shift in this kind of role here, and it would just like it could be amazing, you know. But anyway, that's maybe for another day. That's by the by. And yeah, like I said, like I thought this would be like a secondary headline, like Hatate not starting, but I think what we've seen in terms of because it just felt like everything was just a bit nippier. We were really dominant. Dundee United are one of the best teams in the league, of course. And Yang is a topic in this match, right? So Yang showed again what I've been saying. I think you can see when you watch him play, like the things that he's missing, time will probably give him. Right now, at the moment, he's 22 years old. He's contracted at Celtic until 2028, so he's got another 3 years left on his contract. And again, I'll just say what he's not got with more experience, and just if you know, he then has a step to make. Of course, I think that's where a lot of Celtic fans are kind of got to now, where it's like he's not taking the step, and fair enough. Like at Celtic at the moment, he isn't. But endeavour on top of the actual talent you can see that he does have to like just be direct. And what I think his main problem is he had a nice moment, you'll probably remember it, where he goes on the dribble and he gets into this type of zone here and he plays a decent cross to no one, right? Because he's just not aware of where anyone is. And I think like the whole kind of multitasking part of when it's high octane, high pace in the final third, I think he's not got the, I don't know if composure is the word, but see, to be able to know confidently where the ball is so that you can look, see where your teammates are, and then have the execution match the information that you've got. He's not got that bit, you know, because he does, like the balls he hits are good power, good technique into good areas for the most part, but he doesn't register goals and assists because he maybe doesn't shoot when he should pass, and sometimes when he does cross, again, like I've said a few times, it's to no one. So none of these opportunities are getting created. And you might even say he's a victim of because like we've seen so many football careers where like a little bit of luck goes your way. Like I'm even would count Nicolas Kühn in this. You know, if you remember when Nicolas Kühn first came to the club, like we on this channel we could see a lot of statistics because of the way we do player ratings, which we'll come to shortly. What Kühn was kind of given despite not being amazing. But if you remember his first goal, or one of his first goals for the club, it was against Aberdeen away, and it was fluky AF. And Yang's not, a wee fluky goal, a wee assist that works out for you, can maybe just give you that wee bit of, right, I've done it, and then he's got a wee bit extra composure to just, glance across the box, see where somebody is, make sure the delivery matches. And he's just not had that, so is he going to get that at Celtic? Well, I think we're going to be forced to keep him in for the next couple of games, because Yang, at this point, has played 80% of matches in the last 5, 73% of matches in the last 15. So he's becoming a consistent squad player. Now, this is predominantly in the absence of James Forrest, as we know. He won a penalty, I forgot about that. He did well to do that, I remember that. He got kudos for that, didn't he? But the time invested into Yang in this period here is only going to be wasted by not continuing to use him when appropriate at Ross County away, at Dundee away. That's all I'm talking about. Young boys, Aston Villa, Kilmarnock, different story, of course. But yeah, Dundee at home in the middle of the Champions League matches before then, Motherwell and Dundee. It feels like we're playing a Dundee team every second match. So until we get Forrest back, fully fit and firing, I think Yang is still going to be like winger free, as it's kind of feeling like at the moment. So let's see how it kind of develops with managing Kühn to make sure he can play for the most important matches, of course. But what this team really needed, with the good style of play that we had, and really with the domination that we had throughout the game, was someone to, make the chances count, And Daizen Maeda, for the first goal of the game here, like, absolutely was the guy. He was cool, calm and collected. He finds the back of the net. He takes up a great poacher's, but he just senses the danger, knows what's going to happen, and like, if the ball doesn't go, like, he knows if it comes there, I can finish it, I can hit the back of the net. And Daizen is becoming more and more talismanic with every game that goes by, and we are super reliant on him at the moment. So it's fantastic that the ball, we managed to get it into the final third so often to put that pressure onto Dundee United. And at around the 23rd minute of the match, you would feel that, I predicted 4-0, and I was like, yeah, here we go, 1-0 already, first 20 minutes, can we get another one before half-time? And it might have been a bit more of a goal fest. But again, like, even though everything looked really good for me, like, Yang just didn't really produce anything. McCowan, like, was good, right? I was actually a real fan of the dynamic, maybe a wee bit more than the output. He never really had anything come off for him in a big way in this match. Likewise with one or two of the other players. So the first half, it was tight. Dundee United did their thing, but at half-time they made a substitution. They took off Savelge for Docherty, and we essentially continued to play the same way into the early stages of the second half. But you did actually feel that this team needed the bench to just put the game beyond doubt, because at 1-0, like, Schmeichel had a couple of moments where he had to make a save for the ball. When did Dalby come on? Dalby come on in the 60th minute for Trapanowski. And Lucas Stevenson, who we highlighted in the preview as being a decent wee defensive mid, come on for Odada. By the time we'd made our subs, and it felt inevitable that Ida was going to come off. But when Yang came off for Hatate, I just thought, oh, please say we're playing Hatate out in the wing. Like, that, why not? Like, seriously, at this point, why not? Now, I know it's only 1-0 and you can't be too brazen with it. And initially, because I was like super keen to see what was going to happen when these... Sorry, I was going to say about Dalby. Dalby had like one chance, and you really did feel that he was like, get it on target. He made sure the ball came down, he took his touches, and Schmeichel like had a few moments where he had to be an important goalkeeper to keep the clean sheet, and he did have a good game in that standing. So that's probably all that needs to be said about the keeper. But I was like, please, let's just play Hatate out here and just have him kind of in a free role, perhaps. Naturally, he's going to be gravitating towards the striker, because that's just what he normally does. And we are pushing for a second goal, so more creative bodies in here, the better. But what it looked like at first was that we'd moved the midfield into like a kind of T-shape, like a 4-1, like a 1-3 midfield shape. Like at first, when Hatate first came on the pitch, just the way they were kind of reshuffling and shaping. And then again, this was like, oh, are we playing Daizen and Kyogo up front with that kind of T-shaped midfield in and behind them? Wouldn't that be quite exciting to watch? But no. What we got eventually after like 2 minutes of the ball moving around and the shape kind of forming out was McCowan out in the right mid situation. And again, with the left foot, he's coming inside. So it was a wee bit of width. He was out here to receive the ball to make sure it was difficult for Dundee United to stay compact. But it was very much like if the ball was on the right, he would still be in this kind of zone here. And it maybe then would start to look a little bit like that T-shape kind of thing on the go again. But no, sadly, nothing too ingenious, nothing too exciting. It was mainly just getting McCowan out to the right hand side. And again, we've seen Hatate come in, and when Hatate comes in, he's on the left side of midfield, and again, very nippy. You could tell he was desperate to be involved in the match and making the result, getting the result over the line. But before that could happen, we had McCowan come off for Palma, which moved Daizen over to the right, and we did have Engels come off in the 80th minute for Bernardo. And I said it for the Bruges match, but see, when a team is like bunkered in as deeply as like Dundee United, as any number of teams that we play at Celtic Park can be, a guy like Palma can be useful, and that's where he has been useful for us in the past. That's why he got the goals and assists that he did. That, if you give a guy like this, he's got fantastic technique. Like, his passing range, his shooting ability is probably one of the best at the club. Is it maybe like Derek Riordan-esque in a weird way? I don't know. But, like, he can't go by anybody. I've been saying it on the channel for years. You're probably sick of hearing it for the long-standing subscribers, but he's not a winger, And whenever he comes on, I'm always like, hey, I would not rule out him shooting from 30 yards and it hits the back of the net. And he had a few moments in this game where you could see his range of passing, his shot technique, etc. And he was maybe a bit unlucky not to actually get anything out. He does get credit, but for the Travella outside of the boot switch of play that was aimed for, I think it was kind of aimed for like the striker, ends up coming to Dyson, who cuts the ball back for Tate to finish it, and he does get a bit of credit for it, Palma, to be fair. But you need to be like, he's not a winger, And again, if you're going to play him out in the wing and suffer his deficiencies out in this side of the pitch, why didn't we try Tate at right wing for 5 minutes? Like, yeah, I mean, why not? Seriously. And the player ratings maybe have a few hidden surprises in them, because we did dominate possession in this game. We got an obscene amount of passes, but the highest rated player out of 100 in this game was Cameron Carter-Slippers. The fridge was Man Mountain in this game, and honestly, I wasn't really conscious of how much on the ball he was. 8 effective clearances, he won a tackle, 110 accurate passes. He only got 2 missed passes, can you believe? 22 long passes into the opposition, only 2 possession lost. 6 duels won, 0 lost. An absolute colossus at the back. And, like I mentioned on the tactics board, geographically, Carter Vickers and Trusty were firmly in the Dundee United half. And, the big man wasn't getting into the box, but he had 17 final third passes just on the pure territory that we managed to dominate in this game. The second highest rated player was Greg Taylor. And I think low-key, he had a great game in that playmaker midfield role. He did get into the final third. He was quite attacking in this game. But it was actually quite a complete performance from the wee man in this one. He won a foul, 4 effective clearances, he won a tackle, 6 duels won, only 2 lost, so a net of 4 is pretty good for Taylor. 95 accurate passes, 14 missed passes. Some of these will be like down the line, maybe go out for a goal kick, go out for a throw in, that sort of thing. 18 possession lost in total, which, for a fullback and a midfielder, however you want to think of him, again, kind of normal. And 14 of them were passes, so it's not like he's been mugged of the ball and making errors and that sort of thing, which is always nice to see. 8 balls into the box, 3 attempted assists, so balls that he played became, it could have been a goal, it was a shot on target, that kind of thing. Big chance created, they won a dribble himself as well. Absolutely low-key, amazing performance from the wee man. And the third highest rated player we had in the game was the match winner himself, Dyson Maeda. And what a shift he put in, by the way. When we needed someone to just make sure the game happened, his goal and his assist, I thought, were just absolute cool, calm and collected. And, as much as his technique and his execution is maybe the one thing that lets him down, today that was not the case. He did lose possession 20 times. 7 of them would have been missed passes. He lost 6 duels, only won 4. He made an interception, which is nice. 37 accurate passes, 27 of them in the final third. It just feels like Dyson is at peak, which is where we need him, where we want him. He did also get credited with a big chance missed in this game, which I think is a little bit harsh, but very good attacking output from him in this game. He'll be really proud of winning this game, I would say. Engels got man of the match. I would have personally gave it to Dyson, because I think engine shift-wise, again, I think everyone put in a pretty solid performance. Low-key, Austin Trusty had a great game for me, like I mentioned earlier. And defensively, he was one of the most active. 5 effective clearances, 2 tackles won, and a block. On top of that, he won 12 duels. He did lose 7, but winning 12 is huge volume. 1 interception, 93 accurate passes, only 7 of them were missed, with 11 possession lost. And attacking output, he had that 1 header, which has been given us a big chance missed. I guess they fancied that Trusty should have been burying that, but hey ho, 81 out of 100 is a great rating. Alistair Johnson not far behind him, by the way, and despite him being like that defensive right back more so in this game today, he didn't really get 8 penalty area entries with passing. That's like playing Yang in and stuff like that. That's really low for Alistair Johnson. But he made 101 accurate passes, and 60 of them were into the final third. It was actually like territorially, geographically, however you want to think of it, really high on the pitch, but he never actually really went into the box himself or really found the box too often himself. It was just more about that kind of edge of the box kind of zone that he was like just protecting Yang from. 8 missed passes, 14 possession loss, nothing too bad at all. The duel ratio isn't good for AJ, normally does very, very well in duels. 4 effective clearances and he blocked across. Very good shift for him, and a kind of low-key kind of way as well. Callum McGregor brings in a 72.9, and again, great performance from McGregor. And although I did credit him earlier with being a bit more direct and being a bit more, penetrating a bit more through the middle, it wasn't that often, didn't really amount to much, and the statistics kind of back that up as well. He's won a tackle, 4 effective clearances, 3 duels won, 0 lost. He just wasn't engaged too much in many duels. Frankly, 102 accurate passes, only 2 of them were missed. Elite execution there, but only 4 long passes, 3 accurate long balls. This is like balls where he's maybe like trying to slice through the lines over the top. These kind of passes that he does try to make, only a few of them are coming off in the game. 1 dribble, 1, 3 attempted assists, 3 penalty area entries. So again, for a player like McGregor, you'd want to see a wee bit more than that for the amount of possession and the domination that we had in the game. Now from the bench, actually the next player up should be Rio Hatate, but we'll talk about Luke McCowan because very credit. I really like the dynamic that we've seen, and huge credit to the shift that he put in multiple positions in this match. 13 balls into the box, an attempted assist, a shot on target. Really good to see. Sadly, he's lost more duels than he's won, but 41 accurate passes, 12 missed passes, very busy midfielder, you're expecting that kind of thing. And, just to put this into context, these are the sort of statistics that Hatate will get. 29 possession lost, and people will slaughter him. So, yeah, that's why this is one of the reasons we like to kind of hold these stats up to kind of contextualise it, because Hatate could have these exact numbers and people would be raging with him, Sorry, was there anything else for 3 tackles, 1? He does give you that bit of bite. McCowan, no two ways about it. And made 2 fouls, but he was fouled himself once. And yeah, really good shift. I was quite impressed with the dynamic that we got. Arne Engels didn't actually register too much successful actions in this game. He gave away 4 fouls, which is taking away a wee bit of it, I suppose. 1 a tackle, 1 effective clearance. He's lost so many more duels. He's lost 10 duels, only won 3. 23 possession loss from 9 missed passes. 44 accurate passes, 21 of them in the final third. And in the box, 13 balls into the box, 3 attempted assists. He did create a big chance and won a dribble. And I think that's quite accurate of what happened in the game for him. There was lots of kind of play that didn't really result in anything getting all the way to the final third that he was really effective in. But it's just one of those games where it didn't really come off for him. Despite all the corners that we had, by the way, because that's what his penalty area entries will be, is the corners for the most part, I think. Padding that up a bit. But Hatate from the bench didn't actually do much on all around. His score gets boosted up because he got the goal, of course, with his shot on target. He played 2 balls into the box with the 28 minutes he was on the pitch. 4 missed passes, 7 possession lost for a wee bit per minute ratio for you guys, maybe at home who are counting with McCowan here. 16 accurate passes, 5 accurate passes into the final third. He won a tackle, got an effective clearance, and gave away a foul. So decent shift from him. And also Bernardo in 10 minutes, by the way. 14 all around. This is the sort of shift that we like to see from McCowan. Normally from the bench, normally comes on and is really busy. Big Bernardo come off the bench, 1 a tackle, 4 duels won, only lost 1. 4 duels won, yet only 1 lost. 11 accurate passes. And in the final third, 1 attempted assist, 1 ball into the box, and a shot on target on top of his 1 contest, which is like a dribble. So very active when he came on, and you can tell he's itching to get back into the team. And Kyogo, did he get a big chance missed in this game? No, he didn't. He'll be really happy with that for his per game ratio. And Lewis Palma, what did he actually get credited with? A shot on target, a 1 contest. I do not know where the hell that came from. He did not beat anyone in any contest. 1 attempted assist, 3 balls into the box. 1 duel, 1-0. Again, just not engaging in duels, does he? And yeah, whatever. So, I think this really does swing the door wide open for Ross County away in terms of trying to predict the starting 11. Because I do expect there to be some rotation. I do expect Scales to come back in for Carter Vickers is the number one thing that jumps to mind. But will he bring Kühn back in? Is it maybe better to keep Kühn on ice for Dundee away, then the Kelly game, then Young Boys? That means probably starting Yang. Is Forrest back around? Does McCowan and Engels start a 3rd game in a row together? And what about Alex Valley? Again, another game with no minutes on the clock. And the way we've seen this rotation, quite similar to Bernardo and to Tate, 2 games in a row where, Bernardo get no minutes in the game prior to this, and the Tate 2 games off the bench. This could be a game coming up where there is 4 or 5 changes, and it could be a game where there's 2 changes. It's quite hard to call at the moment. But I did find it interesting. We've not covered the reaction, the press conference yet at this point from the post-match. We'll probably do that maybe in tandem if we can get another press conference out pre-game quick enough, and we'll maybe kind of compare and contrast ever so slightly, so we'll kind of stay tuned for that one. But one of the things that Brendan said at the end of one of the press conferences I listened to was on to the first match, or this is the first match and moving on, and it felt like a little kind of Freudian slip of like their internal planning of the matches and the workload and the minute management, that this game, Dundee United at home, was like match one of the next little block that they're planning people out for. So that may be a little bit of interesting context that we can refer to as we come to preview the next couple of games and go through the analysis and all that other good stuff. I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. I'm looking forward to catching the comment sections to see what your hot takeaways were from the game as well, what your eye test told you, what you've seen on the night, and maybe something that we've discussed in the video, the player ratings, the tactics board, all that good stuff, guys. On screen and now some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more content like this. Hail, hail, and moan the hoops.